Today we are power ranking the Eastern Conference to figure out where everybody's kind of sitting heading into it, and obviously for all the Toronto fans here to figure out where the team fits in with this Eastern Conference coming up. Now obviously this power rankings is very subject to change because Kevin Durant and any potential Donovan Mitchell trade that may still happen this offseason, so this is just the power rankings as of now, so take it for what you will. Now, before I fully hop into things, just make sure you're leaving a like on the video. It goes a long way, it takes like a second, makes a huge difference. And as far as subscribers, you already know, subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you enjoy what you watched. I am 10 subscribers away from 1K, and that's crazy. So be a part of those last 10, and then if you're not a part of those last 10, be a part of the first 10 after that, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. Other than that, folks, let's hop into the video. Let's kick things off here with the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, I mean, like, it's the hardest one to gauge because they're obviously, I don't know what's gonna happen with this Kevin Durant sweepstakes to an extent. Like, Kyrie and KD are still there, but to some extent, you gotta anticipate they're not going to be. So, I don't know, I think the easiest cop out, so to speak, is just to put the Nets in. Could surprise you because who knows, maybe the pieces they get back are good enough to be a playoff team, but they're just the ultimate wild card where, quite frankly, I just don't really feel good about putting them anywhere. So that's where we're gonna leave them. When it comes to the Charlotte Hornets, this is an interesting one because they're a good young team, but they did just have the whole debacle with Bridges, so obviously he's gone, and debacle doesn't even do it justice. Obviously, that's a shitty-ass human being. No punches pulled whatsoever. But obviously on the basketball court, that's a loss. And in general, their team just, it's been trending in the right direction, but I don't know how much that trend has really been that great. I worded that awkwardly, but you know, I think you know what I mean. I'm gonna put them in play in hopefuls and leave them there. Pacers are an easy one. They're bad. They're very clearly tanking, so there's not much to talk about there. They want Victor or Scoot in this upcoming draft. They don't care about anything when it comes to the actual play of in season. The Wizards are an interesting one. Like, I don't have a lot of hopes for the Wizards. I don't think they're that good. But, like, if KP can stay on the court, maybe they're playing a hopeful, I guess. The Sixers are also, I think, an easy one. So, with the 76ers, they got a lot deeper this offseason. In general, I think I like the fit of the roster a lot better around Embiid now. They very clearly, you know, with not having Ben Simmons there, they very clearly know what their directive is in terms of roster construction. And obviously the big wild card is with James Harden having that full offseason to heal up that hamstring and coming back next year. If he can recapture a little bit of his prime, I guess, next season, I don't think he's fully going to go back to that at this point in his career by any means, but if he can be a better version of James Harden than what we saw last season and a more consistent one, I'm going to say it. I'm going to put the Sixers in serious contenders. I think they're there. I think they have a chance to win the East. I think they have a very good chance to win the East. I think I would put them right up with a couple of other teams that I'm obviously going to get to. The Pistons, they're building a good young core. They're building a very good young core, I think, so I'm going to say play in hopefuls. I do think they're just good enough to kind of be in that bracket. And depending on the development of Cade Cunningham and obviously Jaden Ivey and how quickly he jumps on the scene and a bunch of their other young guys, obviously Sadiq Bey, you can count amongst that group as well. Like, they have a chance to maybe crack the play-in, and who knows? Stranger things have happened. Could be a playoff team, excuse me, if all goes right. The Hawks. The Hawks could surprise you. I definitely think the Hawks have a good chance here to, you know, make their mark on the season. I really, really like the add of DeJounte Murray to that team. Obviously, that man is a menace in the offseason. And quite frankly, the Hawks could use a little bit of that edge to their team. And just in general, having somebody like DeJounte Murray that can go and guard the other team's best perimeter player, knowing the kind of defensive liability that Trae Young is, that's a very good running mate for Trae Young. So I do really like this one. I do really like that move. I think their roster is coming together nicely. I don't think they're quite there yet in terms of actually being a serious threat, but again, I do think they could surprise you. Maybe I'm wrong. Celtics is probably one of the easiest ones on this list. They go right to the top of serious contenders, and for whatever reason, I can't push the Sixers out of the way to put the Celtics up there first, even though I'd like to. Anyways, the Celtics were just in the finals. Their roster got better. There's not that much really that needs to be discussed here. They're still serious contenders. They will have their title window open for the next few years. The only thing I would be mildly concerned about is you tried trading for Kevin Durant. The Nets said no. Jaylen Brown could be a little unsettled after that. I'm not gonna lie. But on the counter argument of that, maybe they do still end up trading for Kevin Durant. Again, that's the big wild card in all this. And because of that, it's a little tough to figure out some of these things here and how some of this shakes out. But when it comes to the Celtics, whether it be with JB, KD, whatever the case is, they're a contender. It's just, you know, hopefully they can repair that relationship with Jaylen Brown, because he seemed ticked off to be in trade rumors again. Chicago Bulls, I guess they could surprise you. I mean, I put them there just because I don't quite see them as a fringe contender. I think they're a good regular season team that's ultimately just not really going to be that impactful come playoff time. So they kind of have to, I guess, by default, drop down into the could surprise you category. And who knows, maybe they could surprise you, and maybe they are a lot better in the playoffs than given credit for. They do have a very good team when everybody's healthy there, but ultimately, you know, like whether it be DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, that's your number one on a championship team? I don't think so. Cleveland Cavaliers are actually firmly, I think, in the could surprise you category. Debating whether or not I'd pop them over or under the Hawks. I don't think it matters, honestly. I think they're about the same. I love what the Cavs have been building. I know there's this like natural rivalry there between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors brewing just because of the Rookie of the Year race, I think, between Evan Mobley and the Toronto Raptors and Scotty Barnes. And because of that, I think there's obviously a natural inclination to hate the other side, and I actually think that has a chance to develop into a fun rivalry probably over the next decade if both those young guys end up being as good as they can be. And again, they're both just natural kind of like younger up-and-coming teams, even though obviously the Raptors are probably older. I mean, they are older and have more of the presence to win now, which obviously I will get to when I actually talk about the Raptors. But the Cavs are a good team. The Cavs are a damn good team. Their young core is fantastic. They're going to be a great team in the future. But for this specific season, I think could surprise you is about the right bracket for them. Because honestly, I could see the Cavs as high as like 5, maybe 4. But I could also see them as low as like, I don't know, 8. I do think they're a playoff team this year. Again, assuming relatively good health for everybody. But ultimately, I don't think they really go far in the playoffs or anything. Now, the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat are going to be the first ones that I pop into fringe contenders here. Obviously, this could change, you know, barring any trades. They're obviously still in the KD sweepstakes. I think they'd be in the Donovan Mitchell sweepstakes as well. So, granted, if something happens there, it could change a lot of things for this team. But as it stands now, the Heat were naturally just in the Eastern Conference Finals. They put up a damn good fight against the Celtics. So I could even be talked into putting them into serious contenders. I mean, I think they're closer to serious contenders than I think they're like to the bracket below them. But ultimately, I think fringe contenders feels just about right. They did lose, you know, a good role player like PJ Tucker, and obviously some of you might look at me and be like, PJ Tucker, you're talking about PJ Tucker? Yeah, I'm talking about PJ Tucker. That's a fantastic player to have on your team, and he's gone now. And obviously, you don't know, you know, some aspects say regarding your team, like, what's Kyle Lowry going to look like next year? He didn't really have a great first season with the Heat, and obviously, Toronto has nothing but love for K-Low, but not the greatest season for him this past season. He's only getting older, and just, I mean, in general, even your star player, Jimmy Butler, is only getting older, even though he hasn't really shown the heavy signs of decline or anything like that. But again, French contenders, I think, feels just about right for the Miami Heat. The Bucks, probably, again, one of the easiest ones on this list. Oh, actually, okay, for whatever reason, I really can't rearrange the Sixers out of that top spot, whatever. Anywho, Bucks are an easy one. They have Giannis. They have a good roster around Giannis, and quite frankly, Giannis in a lot of cases, and you know, with the player he is today, is more than good enough to be a championship contender for you. But even then, like, you're gonna get guys back from injuries. Obviously, a big storyline, I'm sure, for Bucks and Bucks fans out there from last season is the fact that they were missing Chris Middleton in that series against the Celtics that did end up going to 7. If Middleton is there, do they get past the Celtics? Potentially. So they're easily contenders. The Knicks. I'm tempted to like, there's somewhere between play-in hopefuls and 1 or 2 years away or just bad. I'm gonna put them in this bracket. I don't have a lot of faith in the Knicks, I'm gonna be honest. If there's Knicks fans out there, which actually a friend of mine is a Knicks fan, y'all can roast me about this. I don't care. I don't have a lot of faith in the Knicks. Should they acquire somebody like Donovan Mitchell, obviously that immediately changes, but as it currently stands, I'm not a fan of what the Knicks have to offer. So yeah. The Magic. I think the Magic, again, they're close between these two tiers, between play-in hopefuls and between 1 or 2 years away. I'm still going to put them in the bottom one here. I think they're developing a really good young core there, and I think there is a good team forming there. I just think it's going to take a little bit. Still at least, again, like as the category says, 1 or 2 years for it to fully formulate. And again, I think there's worse fates out there than potentially having Victor fall into your lap if you're the Magic, because like, holy hell. Or hell, Scoot Henderson. Well, actually, I mean, they have point guards. Anyways, any big young prospect getting added to the Magic would only strengthen how good that young core can potentially be, but I do still think they're a few years away. And now, before I pop the Raptors onto this, I'm just going to look at the rest of these and see how I feel, if there's anything I want to rearrange. Oh, hey, look, I finally managed to move the Sixers out of the top spot. I think that's how... that's probably how I'd have the series contenders. French contenders could surprise you, I feel, is about right to me. Maybe you could argue swapping the Bulls and the Cavs there. Play-in hopefuls, I think I'm more or less like where that is. Do I like the Pistons better than I like the Wizards? No, let's leave the Pistons there. I like Cade Cunningham a lot. When I did the draft videos for the Raptors the previous season, I looked at Cade a lot, and I really do think he's going to be a fantastic pro. As annoying as that's obviously going to be for Toronto, because they face the Pistons a lot, and the Pistons already have their numbers so many times, so... Anyways, I think I'm more or less good with where we are here. The Raptors. I think the Raptors are easily French contenders. I mean, the build-up's been there for me, obviously, doing this, but Raptors and French contenders feels like a gimme. Like, they got deeper. I think the fit is a little bit better this year. I can't stress enough, I really like the addition of Otto Porter Jr. to the team. I think he brings spacing. I think he brings defense and length. Obviously, the identity of the Raptors there. I really like him. And then on top of that, again, you just have so many young guys that have the potential to really jump and make an impact. And that's coupled with already good established players. Yeah, you have your Pascal Siakams, you have your Fred VanVleet, that they're the proven commodities. And again, even somebody like Pascal could still have a better version of himself out there. But past that, obviously, you have a guy like Precious Achiuwa that a lot of people liken his odds for MIP. You have a guy like Gary Trent Jr. that's still young enough that he may not have peaked. You have a guy like OG Anunoby that's still young enough and hopefully this year healthy enough that if he stays on the court, he can still take a jump. And then obviously the big one, the massive one, you have Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes has all the potential in the world. if he's like a fringe all-star, an all-star this season, yeah, like the Raptors are easily fringe contenders, I think. I think more or less, I think you can argue whether or not, you know, you want them here or here in front of the Heat. I don't think it really matters that much. I'm going to pop that Heat there. But again, you have your good bench, well, better bench pieces now by comparison with the additions of, you know, Thad Young for a full season. You got Boucher back. I mean, you didn't really lose anything, and you added more, and your young players are getting better while your great players or good players are still at that level and have even a little bit of wiggle room to be better. The Raptors are fringe contenders easily. So that is me for the day. Hopefully you folks enjoyed that. I haven't actually, you know, done one of these like tier videos before, so this is my first time doing it. I had a blast personally, and hopefully, like I said, you did too. To reiterate what I said at the beginning of the video, if you like this video, which if you're still watching, you like this video, hit that like button. It takes a second and it absolutely kills it for the algorithm, which is great. So thank you for doing that. And if you're new here and you enjoyed what you watched, like I said at the beginning, subscribe to the channel. Holy hell, that 1K dream that I had for so long feels so within reach at this point, and it's crazy. So for those of you that helped me finally hit it, and for all those of you that have helped me hit it, or helped me get to this point previously, thank you. Other than that, it's been JJ Buckets, it's been real, and I will see everybody next time.